Hello and welcome to a Burkamp Wonderland Deadline Day podcast special part 3. I'm Gimli and today I am joined by, first up, it's Tim Hargreaves. Hello Tim.
Good afternoon, Gimli. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Quite well, thanks. Despite the weather in Durban doing its best, i.e. worst, yeah, things are good.
Good, nice to hear. I'll move it along then, and I will move on to our next guest, who is Ryan Hennick. He is from Arsenal in My Blood podcast. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, boys. Good day to you all.
And how the devil are you?
Pretty bloody tired. Been up since 3:30 a.m. Phoenix, Arizona time. But I'm feeling blessed because I woke up just in enough time to see Julian Lescott sign for Aston Villa. So I can't really complain, can I?
No, who can complain? And also we have John Welsh as well.
Hello, Jim.
How you doing?
Dreadful, because I've been awake for about 20 minutes. This is awful. What on earth am I awake for on this shitty day?
Well, it is. I mean, it's a pleasure to have you join us, though. I mean,
I sound so keen.
that's got to be said. I mean, you know, plenty of people would have killed to be on here. Terrible. And of course the Fat Man is here. Hello, Fat Man.
Hello, people.
We've got a new nickname for you, haven't we?
Oh,
Chris
nice.
has coined you a new nickname. What is it? Was it Fat Man Poop?
That's the one.
Actually, I'm holding in a winner right now.
Oh, lovely stuff. Winner chicken dinner.
How to lose listeners.
Yes. And of course, the ever-present Chris is with us as well. Hello, Chris.
Hello, I'm turning into Danny, the king of tech, and I don't like it.
No, come back from the dark side. Don't be a cunt. Right then, where do we kick this off? Probably the inability or the lack of signings. Danny, let's have your thoughts on this. You're up first. The lack of signings, is it naive, as Gary Neville said?
Yes, it's absolutely ridiculous because we are one injury from 2 players away from our team falling apart. Ozil gets injured. No, that's my brain's already ahead of me. Sanchez gets injured. Ozil's gonna have to play on the left, and that's him ruined. And if Mad Frankie in midfield carries on picking up 12 bookings a game, we're going to be without him, and then we are fucked. And so it's just ridiculous that if we go the entire season with no injuries, everyone will go, "Oh, Wenger, you absolute genius! You've done all of this lot. Didn't even have to buy any more than 1 player and 5 youth players." But it's not going to happen, is it? We're going to get an injury. Mad Frankie's going to get at least 1 sending off, maybe about 17 yellow cards. And then we're going to have to start shuffling people around. It's absolutely ridiculous. But he knows best, I suppose, so I'll go with what the manager says.
Fair enough. John, we'll move on to you next. You haven't been awake very long, but what were your expectations for the final day? Did you go into today thinking that, maybe he would pull something out of that magic hat of his, or did you just think that nothing was going to happen?
I thought one was coming in, because, heard a few rumours and whatever last night, and talks were supposedly ongoing and stuff like that, so I thought there might be one. Whether there's still time to do one, I've got no idea, because I don't know if they are talking to anyone. Just to pile on the misery, I've just seen our very own Simon from the bloggers group has just put a fun fact up on Twitter. Arsenal are the only team in Europe's top 5 leagues not to sign an outfield player. That's fucking incredible.
I
mean, when you put it like that, that's really, really sad and depressing.
Even,
I don't like to get down
even the Pirates brought in 8 players this off-season, Kim.
I know. Well, yeah. I don't know what's wrong with the world. We'll get the opinion of our other guests, and we'll kick on with you, Tim. Are you angry that Arsenal haven't signed anyone? Is it par for the course? I mean, we had Sim on the last show, and he was cool as a cucumber. It didn't seem to faze him that we hadn't signed anybody. He said, you look at the form of the squad at the end of last season. Now, nothing's changed, but a world-class goalkeeper has come in. So, did we actually need to sign anyone at all?
I would actually agree with what Danny was saying just now. I think we are a little bit short in a couple of our key positions. As you said, we are 1 injury or suspension away from Coquelin going out. Then we've got Arteta. And do we really want to play Mikel Arteta in games versus Chelsea or Manchester United? Probably not. As for what Danny was saying about the left side, I think we also need a left-sided player. I'll agree with the erstwhile Dom, who said that as well. I believe on a couple of podcasts now, he said we need a proper wide left player. And I think I'll also add to that and say we also need another centre-back. As we all saw in the first match of the season, or was it the second match? First match. Chambers is just not, maybe it was the second game. Chambers is just not ready for a starting role yet at centre-back. He's just not quite there yet. And if we get an injury or suspension to Kashani and Mertesacker, we're in real trouble. I think Wenger has only made one really poor decision so far in the transfer window, and that is that he let Isaac Hayden disappear off to Hull on loan. Now, he would have been an ideal deputy for Coquelin, and he could also fill in at centre-back. So I thought that particular loan move was a little bit strange. So yeah, we should have really looked at one wide forward, one defensive midfielder, and one centre-back. That's for me. I think just check on its own, I don't think was enough. However, I'm not completely absent. It's just something that we've learned to expect over the years, isn't it? Wenger is not one to go and buy 6 or 7 players in one window. As you said, he's brought in, what is it, 5 or 6 youngsters and Peter Cech. We'd be really lucky if he brought in the 4 that we actually needed in one window. But us that he wants are not available. I was actually reading something yesterday about, there was a rumor about Yarmolenko from Dynamo Kiev. I think he would actually be pretty decent for us, and the money quoted was around £14 million, which is not really a huge fee. I'm pretty sure we pay more than that for Danny Welbeck. So for an experienced forward like Yarmolenko, that would be a decent fee, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Ryan, you've sat there and you've listened to what everybody on here has said. I mean, what are your thoughts on Arsenal in the transfer window at this time?
I'm not upset that we haven't brought anyone in except Petr Cech. I mean, I would love us to get caliber player like a Benzema, Lewandowski, even Cavani possibly. But listen, if those players aren't available, the selling clubs aren't willing to sell those high caliber players, then I think we have to accept that. I think we have a good squad. I don't think we're really left short in too many positions. I take and I appreciate the points to want to bring in a quote unquote defensive midfielder, but I do think we'll be okay without bringing one in. If Arteta has to start 8 to 10 matches, play 25 matches total, and come in the 70th minute to shore up games, I think we'll be okay. Of course, if Coquelin gets a long-term injury and we don't buy somebody, we're going to be in trouble. But that's kind of the risk you take. You don't want an inflated squad. And so, I think we have a good enough squad to challenge. We need to play better. We need to adjust some of our tactics. We need some of our players that we do have currently in the squad to step up and start performing. But at the same time, we can't. There's not a whole lot we can do as supporters to influence transfers. So we have to accept the reality of what we are, and we're not, like Tim said, we're not going to bring in 8 players. We're just not going to do that. So. At the same time, we brought in Welbeck last minute. We brought in Ozil last minute the year before. So something could be done. I think if something is done, it'll probably be a loan signing, not a marquee name, unfortunately. But we got a few more hours left, so time will tell.
Yeah, very true. Danny, I'll move on to you. Now, a lot of people have said that we've been toothless in front of goal this season. We are getting the chances, but we're not converting them. I mean, just how important would it have been to have had a striker, and what effect would have had on the team in where we finish in the league?
Well, you look at the shots we've had per game. This is just completely on goal, off goal, and saved. West Ham 22 shots, Palace 20 shots, Liverpool 19 shots, Newcastle 22. So that means that the entire midfield are doing their job of giving the ball to the strikers. The defence are doing their job because we've had 2 clean sheets in a row. So it comes down to the fact we're not winning games because the strikers aren't doing their job. Giroud has got 1 Premier League goal in I think it's either 9, 10 or 11 games now. I can't remember because it just gets worse every time. And that was the game against Palace. The goal he scored against Palace. And so we're averaging 20 shots at goal per game. Now, that is more than any other Premier League team, and I'd say that's more than any other top league team in the whole of Europe averaging that many. And just to have that many opportunities and not have anybody putting them in the back of the net is an absolute disgrace. Theo's just as responsible. He that went against Liverpool, or was it, where he ran up to Newcastle and he just tipped it slightly over. That's unacceptable. You can't have. That's the problem with the Giroud has always been. Every now and then he'll go and have this magnificent run of 9 goals in 7 games, but then to get those 9 goals, he needs three chances at goal per one. But you look at the likes of Henry or Aguero or Ian Wright, and I know it's going on about the old players and world class players, but they will probably score 2 out of every 3 chances. At the moment, we're scoring maybe 1 out of every 4 or 5. Well, 22 a game. We're getting 1 of those chances. Some of them you may like the actual ones that have been on target. 9 against Newcastle, 5 against Liverpool, 7 against Palace, and 6 against West Ham. Now that's the times that they're on target. So if we had a world-class striker up there, or someone who had a little bit of confidence, or we're playing to his abilities. I mean, how often do we put the ball high up across the air and cross it in for Giroud, who's 6'12" or whatever he is, 6'4"?
Worked against Palace though, didn't it? When Bayern and Ozil were crossing in the ball towards Giroud.
Yeah, and then they still kept doing it once Theo didn't. Who did he say against Palace?
Yes.
Theo didn't play against Palace, did he? He was on the bench the whole time.
Yeah.
But then they were still doing that against. I think when Theo come on against Liverpool and Giroud went off, and he was still doing it. I mean, all the games as usual. We're only 4 games into the season, and I'm forgetting what happened in what games. I've seen so many games, I just lose the will to live. But my point is, if we had a world-class striker, they would have a better conversion rate of 1 goal every 5 or 6 attempts.
Yeah. I mean, John, I'll move over to you, and you look at stats and statistics, and Danny, that's more your criteria. But you look, every other club has signed 5 players to our 1. We're the only one, like you said, in the whole of Europe's top 5 leagues to have not signed an outfield player. Are Arsenal at risk of becoming a joke, just because they do seem so incredibly, I don't even know what the word is, just incompetent in transfer windows?
It's a bit embarrassing. I don't think I'd use the word joke. I'd save that for Man United and Real Madrid and the De Gea debacle. That's fucking hilarious. But yeah, it's certainly embarrassing that we haven't gone out and signed anyone. I think people were talking about earlier that we were maybe looking at too high quality a player. Sort of unrealistic targets, because we don't know whether there was any talk with people like Benzema or Royce and players like that who are perhaps not likely to come to us because they're more likely to stay at Real Madrid or go to clubs like Barcelona and Bayern Munich. So maybe we do have to set our sights a little bit lower than that. There's still time today to do something, but I think if anyone comes in today at all, it's not going to be the sort of name or calibre of player that people probably wanted. I think people wanted people like players like Cavani, players of allegedly that quality, although I don't think he's actually that good. But it's a disappointment. I honestly, I'm not trying to make excuses for the club, but I don't see what there is out there to buy. There's so little players. I know people get fed up with comparing it with other clubs, but you look at Man United, they're going to spend all that money on Martial. I mean, I don't even think were they even looking at him before? They've just gone in there for desperation. I think what Danny says is right. We do need. I'm not necessarily saying we need a better striker than Giroud. We need a different option to him. Because you see all these other times, the whole time he's been at the club, when he's had these dips in form, he's been taken out of the team. Someone else has come in for him, play instead of him. And then he's had that kick up the arse that he needed and come back into the team and started playing well again. He's a bit of a streaky player. So we just need that different option. I don't think that different option is Walcott. Whether it's Welbeck or not, the jury's still out on that, and I'm not convinced myself. So we do just need someone else. I think a lot of our issues are more down to tactics than personnel.
And I mean, we've got some people in the chat box that have put suggestions forward. Brendan O'Donoghue has put Saido Berahino. Stidarth has put Gomes. Mick for Life has put Aguero. I think he's taking the piss there. And someone's reminded us that we do still have Joel Campbell. So, Tim, what do you make of any of those options? Do you think any of those would have been a good fit at Arsenal, or would you be happy to go with Joel Campbell and maybe try him?
What I'd be happy with is if we actually used Giroud correctly. What I noticed against Liverpool was Giroud was going up against Lovren and Skrtel, and he was winning the majority of his aerial challenges. The problem was the midfielders were drifting too bloody far away from him, so he was winning the knockdown and there was no one there to pick it up. Now I think that's really something that Wenger and Steve Bold need to drill into the guys, is to not drift far from Giroud, because he's going to go up, he's going to win the knockdown, and there's got to be someone there to pick it up. So Giroud, for every K, he does miss the occasional sitter, but we should be scoring more because the other players should be playing closer to him, as opposed to having, say, Ozil and Ramsey, who are likely to go forward. You need to actually give a specific team order to one midfielder to actually stay somewhere within about 5 to 10 yards of Giroud all match to pick up that knockdown ball that he's going to win. Because let's face it, Giroud is good in the air. He does win the majority of his aerial challenges against centre-backs. That is something that he is very good at. In terms of the three options you mentioned, I would love to see Sergio Aguero at Arsenal, but let's face it, that's just not happening. Unless something really spectacular happens on the world stage and Man City decide to go after the shiny new thing, and then Aguero becomes surplus to requirements. But as long as Pellegrini's there as manager, I don't see that happening. As for Bafétimbi Gomis, I don't see him joining us either. I would love to see him with Arsenal because I think he's actually at least the same level as Giroud, if not possibly a slight upgrade on Giroud, and that he's got, in my opinion, a better first touch and a very quick turn, which Giroud doesn't always have. He's also about the same height as Giroud, isn't he? There's about half an inch difference in height between them, so we could play a similar kind of game with Gomis and Giroud. But that's exactly why Wenger won't sign him. He's too similar to Giroud. He's got too many similar attributes to Giroud already. As for the third option, which was the third name that was mentioned?
It was basically just saying that Joel Campbell, can we use Joel Campbell?
Oh, Campbell, that was it. Campbell, yes, but I don't think in that as a number 9. I think he would be more better suited in one of the wider positions, as I just don't think he's got the physical stature to be a number 9 for us. He's just too short. We've seen that issue crop up with Theo as well in the last match, where it was just nothing going on with him the whole match. He was invisible. I think he had, 14 touches in like 60-odd minutes, which is just absolutely pathetic, really. That's 4 minutes, which is just crap, really. I think unfortunately Campbell would, in that he's also a fairly short player. Maybe he's slightly physically more muscular and slightly better built than Walcott to play number 9, but I still feel he's too short. We need to have a guy who's at least 6'2", playing through the middle with the current formation and tactics as they are. And like I said, I'd like to see the midfielders coming into action more and playing their game closer to Giroud.
I think. Sorry to cut you off there, Tim, but one of the people that we have overlooked, and I think a possible place in this window where they failed, is if they couldn't sign anyone, if they couldn't bring in a striker, why not give Akpom a go? From what I saw in pre-season, he looks quite a tasty little player. Is it Wolves, the club that he's at the moment? He scored
Hull City with Isaac Hayden.
Yes.
At Hull.
But he scored a couple of goals for them, and I'm thinking, young,
Scored
pacey.
in his debut.
He's hungry. You know, like the excuse is that there's no one out there to buy. So why'd you loan off someone that could have done a job for us? I think that to me is inexcusable.
Yep.
John,
That's why I said that the line of Isaac Hayden was daft, because there's no one else really who can fulfill that position. He was the only player last season for us who came out with any credit versus Southampton in the League Cup. If you go back and watch, Hayden was by far our best player in that match, and he was playing at centre back. As far as I know, he can play at centre back and defensive midfield, so that would have given us cover at centre back. Arguably as good as Chambers as a centre back. Because remember now, Chambers is a right back who's being adapted to play centre back, whereas Isaac Hayden has played centre back and defensive midfield for his whole career through our youth teams, etc. So I would say he's probably more adept at playing centre back at the moment than Chambers, and that was another reason I thought it was strange to loan him.
Guys, we're talking about players here. You talk about Akpom. He right now at his career, he needs game time. He's not going to get consistent minutes at Arsenal, so he needs to go out on loan to develop, because he's not ready. He's clearly not ready yet. He's a good talent, and he might be, but it's more beneficial him to be playing at a Hull City than to be getting 3 or 4 matches at Arsenal. And in terms of Isaac Hayden, I mean, let's be honest, Arteta and Flamini are far better options than Isaac Hayden in the middle of the park. I mean, again, Hayden could be that player, but he's not. He certainly isn't there yet. And same really goes in terms of these other options that are being thrown about: Berahino, Charlie Austin, Wanyama. I mean, these guys are not good enough to get into. In my opinion, Arsenal is definitely not Arsenal's starting 11, and I would even argue Arsenal's 18. So why are we going to spend 25 million on Berahino, who's not a better option in my opinion than Giroud? And don't forget Danny Welbeck, guys. I mean, I don't know when Welbeck's going to be fit, but we just bought him for 16 million last season, and I think he's got a lot to give to the club. He's not everyone's favorite. He's not that world-class striker, but he's certainly a better option than some of the names around the league that are being thrown about. So I think we've got to have some perspective and realize that just because you can spend money and you can buy players, it doesn't necessarily improve your team. And I think that's the case with a lot of these names being thrown about.
Very true. We shall start to wrap this up then. And as always, we ask the question, do you think we'll sign anybody and who? Tim, I'll go straight back to you.
I think we will sign absolutely bloody no one. Apparently there's a report of Wenger being in Paris, and the Daily Telegraph kind of did a little piss take there and said, is he there to A, commentate on a France match, B, get some papanache, or C, to look at a PSG player? Hint, the answer's A or B. So they did a little bit of a piss take there, the fella at the Telegraph. I don't think we're going to get anybody in before the deadline. I believe deadline closes in about 3.5 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Not going to get anyone. Not if Wenger's already in Paris at that point. No one.
No. Okay, John?
Yeah, go on, I'll be crazy and say we're getting one in. Who are we going to get? Kevin Doyle.
Yeah.
I thought he signed for the Pirates.
No, we
He wasn't good enough for the
He wasn't good
Pirates.
enough.
There we go.
He didn't have the right mobility. But could Arsenal sign Amy Lewis? Is that possible? She's lovely.
Is that like?
Sorry, carry on.
Is that Mr. Gunarat?
No, and it's not Pink Eye either. It's the one who's reporting at Southampton today for Sky Sports News. She's lovely. She can clean my house any day.
Very
That's turned
tasty.
into an episode of Keys and Grey.
Get off the
Only
patch,
banter.
bitch! Get off the patch!
There's that voice. Right, this is going downhill fast.
My fault.
Ryan,
Apologies.
do you think we're going to sign anyone, Ryan?
No, I don't think we will. I think depending on Welbeck's time frame and when he comes back. I mean, that's kind of bewildering to me. His injury's been out for going on 5 months with a bone bruise. I think there's something a lot more sinister there that we're not hearing about. But if we do bring in a striker, I think it'd be somebody on loan. kind of a last-minute Kallstrom type signing, which won't please a lot of people, but that's I think the best we can hope for at this point.
Yeah. And Danny?
No one.
Fucking no one?
Fucking no one.
Lovely stuff. That just about wraps it up then. Thank you guys for joining me. We are going to be back at, let me just have a look, at 3 o'clock, and we've got Drew, Adam Ullman, Ellis Mel, and we've got Big Red Gooner as well, who is, what's his at?
Alan. Oh,
Alan.
He's at Big Olal, isn't it?
Big Olal, big
Yeah.
underscore Olal. So we will be back in about 25 minutes' time. So we look forward to seeing you then. So that was a Burkamp Wonderland Deadline Day Transfer Special Part 3. Thank you. Part 2. Part 2.
That
Three.
was 3.
It was 3. Oh, I'm just fucking off the clock. Thank you so much for listening. And keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Bye.